Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful Lord's Day, and we just thank you for the blessings of life, Lord. We just come before you tonight asking you to lead, guide, direct us, and everything that we do here at this meeting will be pleasing in your eyes. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank everyone for coming out tonight. January 17th meeting. And with that, I'll start the roll call. Curtis is here. Where's Dennis? Had anything underneath? Okay. Wendy's here. Miss Sue is here. Tyler is here. Jason is not here. I'm here. One more time. Mr. Aaron is here. Miss Sherry is absent tonight. I think she got a ball game. Is that right?
Correct.
And Mr. Warren, our list is
Present.
and accounting for. With that being said, I will entertain an approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next is approval of the minutes.
Move approval of the minutes from Town Council meeting on January 3rd.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right. Public participation. We do not have anybody on the list. Do we have anybody that would like to say anything at this time? No. We're good. All right. Informational items. Friday at 11 a.m. at the new annex building at the courthouse, we will have the Levy County Legislative Delegation hearing, and that's at 11 a.m. That's Friday. Municipal election qualifying is Monday, January the 23rd through Friday, January the 27th. What was the times on that, Sue?
9 a.m. on Monday through 4 p.m. on Friday.
Our next town council meeting is February the 6th, 6 p.m. here. And next thing is we have a request from Tony Collins at the Levy County Historical Society. And Sue, you want to explain to everyone what this is?
I will.
Concerned?
So she called me on Friday. Didn't get a chance to call her back. So I sent her an email, and she responded this morning and said, "Good morning, Sue. The Historical Society received a visit from Wayne and Pamela Coulter. They made the trip to Bronson from their home in Newport Richey to survey the Coulter Cemetery and decide where they want to be buried. They also met with Joe and Karen Pinkston of North Florida Monument in Williston to order headstones. I called to check with you to make sure it was okay. Although the cemetery is closed, as a fourth-generation descendant of William Coulter, they should be able to be buried there. Also, in March, we're going to do a ground-penetrating radar survey of the cemetery because there are several missing monuments. We also discussed applying for a historic marker since William Coulter donated the land for the courthouse, Bronson Methodist Church, the cemetery, and education, which turned out to be the Bronson High School. Thanks, Tony." As far as I know, didn't the town turn the Coulter Cemetery over to them? Like, we have nothing to do with this now, right?
We don't have nothing to do with it.
So I don't know why she's asking us this.
Hold up.
We don't know what cemetery it is.
It's not ours. I mean,
It's not ours.
we don't maintain it, right, Curtis? We don't do anything with it.
Well, maybe that's something that when you go to your next county meeting, you're going to ask them.
Again.
Oh.
Was it originally ours, though? Back in the day? No,
we
never been
never
ours.
did it.
Never.
That cemetery has been closed since I was a child. I mean, since I was in elementary school.
Ever since we was in school, it was closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's been 50-something years ago. They never put anybody out there.
I mean, I don't have an issue with the lady and the man being buried there. I mean, it's their prerogative. I mean, listen, I understand the cost today because I just went through
We
all
can't
that.
say yay or nay.
Right, nothing to do with this. Right. Okay.
It's expensive,
Oh yeah,
especially in South Florida.
for sure. Okay.
All right. Yeah, we could just tell them that, you know, it's not out of our jurisdiction. I know that for a fact. So, all right. Next on the agenda is the town of Bronson welcomes Lisa Walbert. Did I say that right?
Walbert. Mm-hmm.
Okay. She is our new administrative assistant, and she is helping on the job as we speak. She
Is
is
she full-time or part-time?
Part-time.
part-time.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Why don't we, when we got new people coming in, we should be able to see them, I feel anyway. The public.
What do you mean?
It should
See,
be up here.
Part-time.
well, she works part-time. She only works a couple days a
Part-time.
week.
I don't care if she work.
I mean, you can come in and meet
You
her.
gotta know what you're dealing
Would you
with.
be to the city hall?
Yeah.
Don't you be up there?
Yeah. Yeah, you can come in and meet her when she's working next, you know.
Frank?
I mean,
So come
most of
in
the time, Mr. Elijah, when we have a full-time employee come on, we do bring them in and introduce them. Most of the
Yeah,
time.
sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Any other discussion on anything else that you know of?
Well, that's it for that.
You have the floor.
All right. So first up tonight is we're going to do a plaque dedication for Harriet Wilson, and I'm going to read a little blurb that I put in the newsletter about her. So she was born June 25th of 1920. She passed December 9th of 2022. She was born in Missouri, but her family relocated to Marion County, Florida when she was 2.5 years old. She moved to Bronson in 1941 and became an active member of the First Baptist Church of Bronson, where she taught both Bible study and Sunday school for many years. She began her career working for a county judge and then worked as a law secretary. In 1987, Miss Wilson retired from a land title business that she operated with her sister Helen. She also served on the Bronson Town Council for 21 years, somewhere around 1980 to 2001. Miss Wilson loved cats, her neighbors, and writing cards to family and friends. She is survived by 3 nieces, 3 nephews, and many great-nieces and great-nephews. On Wednesday, December 14th, she was laid to rest at the Millwood Cemetery in Reddick, Florida.
All right. And we will, for everybody to see, this will be put into City Hall.
All right.
It's got the picture and everything on it.
Very nice.
So, Miss Harriet was a very, very,
Let me take a
very
picture of
special person. I have had the distinct honor of her, and I can truthfully say this with the utmost respect, that she, as a Sunday school teacher when I was about 6 or 7 years old,
Quit talking.
tried to get me straight and narrow, okay?
If I did the math, she was 102?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
There's something in the water around here, Mr. Warren.
You always say it's good water.
Mr. Dogan Cobb, who was the mayor here when I served with him on the board for years, on my first tenure, he lived to be 103.
And her name was Beatrice.
Yes, sir.
Harriet Beatrice.
Yes, very, very special lady.
Awesome.
Very good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Can't have nothing nice.
I know I can't. All right, so next up on the agenda is our permit fee schedule conversation, which I think this is now the 4th time we've talked about it, 3rd or 4th time. At the last council meeting, I believe it was Councilor Edmondson that asked for the fee schedule from Levy County, which is in your packet. It starts out with an ordinance 2022-7, and then kind of goes on from there. It's about a little over 20 pages. But what we did was we used the same example that we've been using, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot house with a purchase price of $200,000. For a reminder, that same house right now in Bronson, in terms of the permit fees, would cost $1,898. In Chiefland, with impact fees, it would cost $2,850. Crystal River, $2,885. Williston, $2,560. And in Levy County, it will be $3,167. So it's a pretty big difference between us and especially Levy County. So again, Dave, our Greenbaum, our building official, is advocating going to this rate rather than a flat rate, going to a percentage-based schedule. I did one change on this mock-up that I did last week. I forgot to add the impact fees, so I put those at the bottom. These are the fees that right now go to the county. So educational system impact fee for a single-family home is $816.50. A multi-family dwelling unit is $416.40, and a mobile home is $637. Then there's an EMS impact fee of $85. So for every new home right now, we have to collect that money and we forward it over to the county. So I did want to let you guys know that I did put that on the bottom. Go ahead.
Is there any fee structure that is going based off of the cost to build a home? Or is it all just, for example, I don't know who can, this is for new construction.
New construction,
right?
Brand new.
I don't know who can build a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot home for $200,000.
These are our made up numbers. We just came up with some random number.
The cost does not matter.
Right. We were just using this so we could so you could see exactly what it would be for all these municipalities.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably can't build a 2,000 square foot home for $200,000 anywhere right now.
Absolutely cannot.
So don't get fixated on the 200,000. It's just simply to. I'm well aware. Yeah, $100 a square foot in Florida.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I asked Alexis to come to the meeting tonight because I wanted him to answer any questions you guys might have. He deals with this on a much more frequent basis than I do. So if you guys have any questions, he actually came up with this and has come up with all of these examples. He's done all the research. So I asked him to be here tonight if you guys have any questions, but we did want to respond with that information that Councilor Edmondson asked for.
What are you talking about, the utility bill?
We're talking about building permit fees.
Building permit.
Anybody got any questions?
How much is it?
Well, we're looking at potentially changing what we're doing currently, is what this is. So, Alexis, why don't you give a little rundown to Elijah?
So, at the current moment, the way our building permits are set up is, I believe, I have to double check myself on this because it's mainly Dave who adds them up. But I believe that we go based on the estimated cost of construction currently.
Correct.
And you pay, I think it's something like $8 per $1,000 of estimated costs, I think. And it's graduated, so when you get above a certain cost, that number drops per 1,000 down to, I think it's 4 or 5, but I can't remember the numbers offhand. And that's a system that I believe we use, Chiefland uses, and I think Levy County uses a version of it. And the other system that Williston and Crystal River use in this packet is a percentage base, where they would take that estimated cost of construction and decide how much to charge you for the permit based on a percentage of that estimated cost, as opposed to a flat, like $8 per $1,000. It would vary more based on the estimated cost of construction, I guess, if I explain that.
Wait a minute. Wait. I want to be clear. In both cases, in both instances that you recited, they're basing it on the estimated cost of construction, no?
Yes, sir. That is a major part of it in almost every
So what is the actual functional difference between the two?
So the main difference that I can think of, and that's coming from my economics background, is that the percentage would kind of adjust for inflation by itself. So because it's based on, the estimated cost of construction would increase over time with inflation, and the percentage, I guess, would adjust itself with that. Whereas
But the $8 would apply to more thousands of dollars.
It caps out. When you get to, I think it's like $200,000, you move to the next step.
I see what you're
Levy County does what I find an interesting thing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Where they also charge based on inspections in addition to estimated costs,
Right.
which I haven't seen anyone else do. But they charge based on how many times the building inspector has to go out and inspect the job site.
That's a double dip.
How much is that?
They charge 70 each.
I can't speak because I can't represent the county. So.
But now, if they have to do, and that's based on, if they come out, and something is wrong, then, and they have to come back out, then they charge you an extra fee. That's what you're saying, that's what that's based on. Not the initial inspection, but if, okay,
Yes.
we come, okay, and it don't pass inspection, okay, he said, you got to fix this here.
Yeah.
And he got to come back again,
$70.
then that's $70. That's the way that works.
Yeah.
So, from the way I understood it, and I could have been understanding it wrong, I gathered that they charged that 70 as the initial inspection. And that if you had to get another one, it'd be another 70, but I might have misread that.
I don't think, you could be right, but, because it's been a long time since I had something inspected, but that's,
You have, the county has, you get X amount of inspections.
As part of the fee.
It's part of the fee. It's added into it. If you want more inspections, you pay the
We
fee.
need more.
But if you go out and it is disapproved, you pay that fee.
that's what I did.
That's what you've done.
Aren't we glad I asked? Well, we've been on something else. Go ahead.
I do have a question though. So the extra funds, who would that end up going to? Because building departments have to have their own fundage through the state law and everything, so if you guys truly don't have your own building department, you're paying somebody else. So basically, this guy wants to increase the fee so that they can charge more, make more, or
So
what's your process of?
I think you got a contract with him.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they end up with the extra money that's going to be generated through raising the.
They already raised their rates.
Hmm.
They already raised their rates.
Yeah, we're just trying to.
The extra money's coming to us, not going all the way
But
to
the
them.
extra money is coming to the city, not to
Yeah,
not to
not to
him.
them.
Because they're on the contract.
Correct.
So we're gonna pay them $5 a month, just for example.
Mm-hmm.
Then if we get extra $10 or $15 a month, they don't get but just the $5. The $15, $10 go to us. So
Yeah.
it's not for their benefit, it's for.
But how are you going to work around because building departments are self-funded and everything, so there's a cap on how much money that money can go in to, so how would you justify what to do with that money after a certain amount of money?
Permits fees can only be used for permits in that specific
For the
department.
for the building department. That money can't go somewhere else in the city.
Right, and it doesn't. I mean, the reason we're
No,
just
I'm just saying, like, if you increase the rates and you have excess money, like, is that excess money just to get to what they're charging you now?
right because we're paying almost $100 an hour for them right now.
Right.
Right. They just raised the rates. Actually, raised them twice.
So that's what I'm saying. He needs you guys to raise it so that you guys are
Yeah.
at least
So they're
free.
not paying
Correct.
out of pocket
Right.
so much money. That's
Right.
money.
We'll probably end up losing money. I mean, honestly, unless we do something.
All right. We need to.
Well, we need direction as to are you
what we're
guys
gonna do.
are you guys liking this version or
And
is there
Dave
something
liked
else? And Dave likes this version. Dave's looked at it many times with us.
Percentage based.
Yes. It's as you can see, we're going to go from whatever it is, 9-10 pages to 1 page if we go to this. I mean, it's very easy if we end up going to this. I mean, I assume we would need a resolution anyway, correct? If we're going to change something like this.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with it.
So we need to get Mr. Warman to come up with. We need that in a motion.
Yes.
I make a motion to go to the percentage-based permit fee schedule. Or direct Mr. Warm to do a resolution to move to the permit base or the percentage base.
That's it.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same motion carries.
Okay. through all that stuff. All right, next up is delinquent utility bill procedures by municipality. So at the last meeting, we talked a lot about 51 Peace Drive and 663 East Main Street, and the fact that they owed us a lot of money. The good news is they've both come in and they've made payment arrangements, so we didn't have to do liens. We don't have to reintroduce that. However, it got us kind of thinking about the fact that the liens that we do have in place, like we talked about, we put those in place, I think, February of last year. So now they've all accumulated a lot more money since last February. So Alexis actually called around to 9 different municipalities to see how they handled their delinquent utility bills. It's in your packet. It says delinquent utility bills by procedures by municipality. We really liked what Williston did. What they do right now is they do use a collection agency, which I have looked at. I actually was in conversations with one a few months ago. Unfortunately, we don't have enough that I think we would need a collections agency. I mean, we have probably less than 10 residents that this really applies to, and they take a gigantic chunk. I mean, more than 50%. So I'm not real excited about using them, but that's what Williston uses. So what they do is they shut off the account after it's 30 days past due. It's completely shut off. And then they make residents pay the balance in full before they'll set up a brand new account. And then they charge them, is it another connection fee?
I believe that's in part of it.
Okay. So in most of these places, then they would start a brand new account. You'd have to pay all the brand new fees. And a lot of these will actually double the fees. So if it's like $100 to set up a new account, now it's $200. You're basically getting penalized for having to set up a new one. So what we were thinking was, again, I'm coming at this from the perspective that we have there are several people right now that have thousands of dollars. Jason Eggleston is one of them. So Jason, as you know, Marshburn, this is the one we did the cleanup. We had $3,000 to his bill. He already owed us $1,000 maybe when we started this. So now with the late fees and everything going on there, he's now well over $5,000. I mean, it's just accumulating every month. It's making another 10%, another 10%. So we were thinking that, maybe we could come up with some sort of a cutoff date, like what Williston does. Maybe either 30 days or 60 days, we should do the same thing. Shut off the account. We can't get any more. Nothing else is added at that point. And then maybe we do the lien at, I'm just making this number up, but maybe like 120 days, we do the lien, then that way it doesn't keep accumulating. The account is completely shut off. There's no more bills, that are accumulating at that point. It's just our thought, because like I said, we're going to have to keep, revising these liens that we have out there because they just keep getting more and more money added to them right now.
All right, well, the only problem I have with that is this. We're financing these people,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to look at this from a reverse situation.
Okay.
The taxpayers of Bronson are financing these people
Mm-hmm.
for their water bill or whatever they got.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be some interest accrued to that in some manner. I don't know what the most accurate way would be,
Okay.
but just to cut it off at a certain date and say, okay, we got 120 days. If we still have not received the money, then you can put all the liens in the world on somebody, But if you're not accruing some money for that time, because listen, if you owe a bank money, I promise you, it never stops till they come get you.
Right.
Okay. Now, you say if they don't pay at a certain time, cut them off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see that now, we talk about a lot of this have come from people got meters off.
Correct. And I think in almost every one of these cases, their meters are off.
If you got a meter that's already off, and they're not paying the minimum amount, so what do you mean cut them off? They're already off.
Yeah, they're already off.
Shut the account down. Not just shut off their water. We're doing that. I mean, we're shutting the water off.
That's what I was saying. But the meters still exist. But when you got all these other people, all the other people that like paying, I use myself for example. I got water to a place I don't use. My water's owned. I pay my water bill to that place.
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't have my water owned to that place, then I'm still got to pay that regular monthly fee.
Mm-hmm.
So you really not accumulating, you're not accomplishing anything by close the account off because the meter's still there because you got other people in the same situation they is, but they're paying bills.
Yeah, amen. Yeah.
So you're not accomplishing anything because it's not fair to people that keep on paying for a meter just to have it there for what that word is.
Convenient.
Convenience, thank you. For convenience, that's what mine is. Mine is my convenience.
Okay. Okay.
So if you do that, then you're not being fair to people, other people. That's even though if you cut it all the way off.
Right.
The serious part of this is that we don't need to let people get this far into it.
But you got to remember when you're $500, let's just say $500, in arrears with us. The 10% late fee in and of itself is now $50 a month. I mean, it accumulates pretty quickly. So your $500 bill in a year is going to be well over $1,000. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, which is fine. I mean, I can come back to you guys with a new resolution every, 6 months or year or whatever, and we'll just update the amount that's owed. I mean, that's my concern is, these now that we have in place from February of last year for, say, $600, those are now $1,200.
And I don't care, like Mr. Martin said, you probably won't never connect it. Unless somebody else come and
Unless it sells.
And come to that resident. And another thing I was gonna say, did you check and see what the other municipalities do concerning the meters? See, we charge for a meter because it's on the property. And we asked you to do that last meeting. Did you check?
You mean in terms of, are they paying the
Are
minimum?
they paying for that meter just for the convenience of that meter being there? Or are they paying for that meter because it's in use?
Chiefland doesn't. If you're not using
Right.
the meter, they don't pay.
That's
your key.
And that's the. If you do that, the problem we got now, we won't have it. Because like I said before, when it was voted on before, I didn't agree with that. You charging people for convenience when just because it's there, there's no use. I done it for until I realized that I'm paying for this meter. I wasn't using the water. It was off.
Right.
But the meter was there. I said, well, if I got to pay for it, you cut my water on. Because I didn't know.
I think.
But that's the state's-
I think where the pass is crossing here is just like with our sewer. If that sewer line comes by your house, you have to pay the minimum.
That could be against the law too.
And that's a state
That's a state law that you have
Right.
to do that.
Yeah,
to help
The
maintain
water
the system.
comes into the same criteria.
I don't think so. And we probably gonna get in a bond, a whole lot of.
I think that is a state law.
I'm pretty sure, but again, I'll take a look at it.
I know the ordinance reads that way anyway.
Yes.
Right.
That if public utilities come by your house, you can have both. I have both. I have wells for cattle and fish. But
If Chief is not doing this, and probably some more, did you check on everybody or just Chief?
No, we
Chiefland,
didn't.
I just knew Chiefland because we discussed it in the past.
I don't think. Did you ask that when you called? You didn't, right? It was just
No,
like
I just
just about delinquent bills.
The other thing we might want to ask too is what if there's a death or it's in probate? Because is it majority of these? There's been a death.
Some, I wouldn't
And
say.
it's-
There's a few.
Yeah. There's a death, and so there's no family or anything.
Well, that's where I think about it, that's where I feel about it. And like I said, with the sewer, but I don't know about, I'm kind of, like Mr. Warren says, in the ordinance, but just because it's there, don't make it, it's the law, what I'm saying.
Can I ask you a question so I understand where you're coming from? Because if I have to do some drafting, I want to know. All right. It all started out with putting a lien on the property when there's an unpaid utility bill.
Yeah.
Now, it's a given that if they don't pay the utility bill, you're going to shut their water.
Yeah.
Okay? So if that doesn't get you paid, what alternative do you have?
It's not the idea of putting a lien on the property. The idea is charging for a meter because it's just there. That's what I'm saying.
So what would you say to do? Let's take this circumstance. They haven't paid for 60 days. You shut their water off, and they don't come in. Well, what do you want to see happen?
What you do, you cut the water off just like she said. but then you still can't, and then that's the end of the bill. That's the end of the bill, Saka. When you cut that water off, that's it. And until they get ready to get that water cut back on, then they pay a deposit. They pay the upgrade, they bring the bill up to date, and they pay another deposit. See, the key thing is this: once you get it cut off, and I use this all the time because that's what I know. This is what I experienced. When I work with Central Florida Electric, when you get your power cut off, you got a deposit. It's a deposit. You got a deposit. Okay, if you get your lights cut off, then what they do is, when you get back on, they make you pay an additional deposit to where, because they know your record.
But how this all started was, we were dealing with a tenant. So this tenant is a deadbeat, this fictional tenant. Doesn't pay the bill, you shut the water off, and this tenant goes somewhere, and the landlord gets another tenant. What happens to the accrued bill? There's a different tenant.
The landlord will be responsible for paying that bill, or whoever moving that place will be responsible for paying that bill before the water get cut back on.
Well, that's why you want to use a lien.
See, yeah, that's right. But then you can't charge the landlord. You have to excuse me sometimes. I get my word.
I know what you're talking about.
Well, you can't charge the landlord. You have to charge the landlord for. You can't charge the tenant for the bill, but you can charge the landlord for the bill in order to get cut back on. Because they collected money for.
But here's what's going to happen. Who's going to come to you to turn the power back on is the next tenant. You're not going to hear from the landlord. Landlord's going to rent the place, and he's going to say to the tenant, which every landlord does, go get the electric and the water put in your name.
Most people, in most conditions, if you, I can't talk about nothing I don't know. I know about power. Okay, if I go to and got electric here, okay, then I got electric over there. I leave here, I don't pay my bill here. Okay, if I go over there and try to get power in my name, I got to pay that bill over yonder first before I'm able to get power. So it should be the same thing with the water.
It's not going to happen because they're going to have no idea that this guy didn't pay his water bill in Bronson.
But if you, the landlord, then you're responsible for it.
Well, if the landlord is responsible,
and if the landlord don't pay it, then you don't get no water.
Okay. If the landlord is responsible, then we're back to enforcing the landlord's responsibility by putting a lien on the property, which the statute lets you do.
That's not my issue. My issue is not putting the lien on.
You don't want these charges accruing when there's no service.
That's what my issue is.
Okay, and then it's been pointed out that Sue is under the impression, and I'm not sure, to be honest, that I know by ordinance it's required. The question is, by state statute, is it required, or is it required under the terms of our agreements with whoever financed the sewer and water? The FHA.
Even if it's an ordinance and it's against the law, then you can't.
If it's against the law, we can't do it.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, yeah. Okay. I'm not sure it is, but I see your point, and it needs to be determined.
Now, I know for a fact that the sewage is determined by that loan they got, that they have to. There's no getting around it.
The sewer is, yes, I know the sewer is. It's the law. See, I know what the law, like you said, according to the sewer, if the sewer passed by your place, you're supposed to hook up to it. And see, that's another thing. See, what we're doing is we're charging people to hook up, okay? But for not hooking up, even though it runs by their place. But the key thing is, if we're gonna do that, then you need to make that they hook up to the sewer. Because that you're losing money by just collecting the basic rates. And the sewer is based on how much sewer go into the sewer. Does that make any sense? That's what it's based on. Well, all we doing is say, okay, you got sewer going by your house, you don't want to hook up, it's $10 every month. And then but the bill could be $25 or $30 a month.
Coming in.
in.
Do we have that falls into that category?
That pay and they're not connected?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's that many. Curtis, what would you think? A dozen? I mean, it's not a lot.
Like for a sewer, there's areas where sewer run by, but there's no, they would have to have a pump. They would have to have a lift station. And when they did the sewer, they didn't put it like fairground. In order for them to hook up and put stuff out, they had to put a lift station there. Well, the lift station would have been almost $1 million.
Wait,
So they omitted putting a lift station there, a lift pump to pump sewer on across to Marshburn to go to the plant. So, you know, when you're looking at there's other places that, you know, that don't have stub outs also, you know, but sewer run past them. I think when they was originally doing the grant, when they was doing it, they gave the customers opportunity that they would crush their septic tank, connect them to sewer. And the problem is that after a year, they would have they would have to do it on their own if they didn't hook up. But I don't think it was enforced during that time. And time has went by, and now, you know, we're trying to make them, i.e. either, if they're not hooked up, to hook up, if it's available, meaning that there's a stub out. So you're gonna have some other areas that on Davis Street where one side of the road is on sewer. Now, anybody build a house on the wooded side, which some people are looking at, there's no sewer connections. Now, can they get sewer? Yes. Will it require them to have a lift station? You know, that's something that you won't know until you know the position of the house. So, you know, with water, you know, same thing. I mean, you got water, it doesn't matter. I mean, but I think what we're doing, we're following the ordinance. And I think all of our ordinances are based on state law. I think some of them. You know, the majority of them, when they draw ordinances based on state law. So.
Well, I mean, like I say, if everything is based on state law, I know what the sewer, I know about the sewer, like the water, I'm not sure about that now. And
another thing, you know, the sewer rates are based on the water usage. You know.
Well, see, that's true. But then the sewer rate, now, I got a place in Chiefland. I got water and I got sewer. My water bill may be $25 a month, but my sewer is way more than $25. So the sewer rate and the water rate don't coincide. I don't know how they figure, but it's not. If I got $25 water bill, my sewer bill should be $25, but it's not that way.
Depending on the year, it's not.
But my water bill could be like $14 a month, but my whole bill is $50-something, and the rest of it is sewer. So I'm just saying the sewer rate is way greater and cheaper than it is here. So like I said, we got
more. Even here, sewer is more than water.
Yeah. So if you got sewer going past a place. And see, that's what I say. I've been saying all the time since I've been on this council. We got ordinance, but nobody to enforce them. See, if you say you got to have sewer hook up if it pass your house and stuff like that, because some stuff is gravity fed. All of it is not have to have a pump for you to hook up to. So if you got to go past your place, and the law said, or the ordinance said you got to hook up to it. But then there's nobody enforcing the ordinance. So what? That's the kind of category we fall in, because there's nobody saying, like the water bill. That's a good example. We're trying to enforce the thing on the water bills, but then what about the sewer and all that kind of stuff? We got to have, if the city needs money and need to collect money for the service, then we have to have somebody to enforce the ordinance that we have in place in order to collect what we need to collect. Now, I think I'm finished.
I think the problem is that, you know, once a person don't pay and you cut their water off, there's no more, you know, if they're not going to pay, they're just not going to pay. If they don't have it, there's not, you know, it just the bill keep.
What kind, excuse me, I'm sorry. What kind of deposits do we require?
So it varies between renting and owning, but for an owner, for water and garbage both, it's $40 each, and sewers $50. I don't remember the renter ones offhand, but they're a little higher. And for commercial, it's $100 for each.
I think it's 60 and 44.
I think you're right.
100.
Could I just read the state statute on that? Statute number 180.135. Utility service refusal or discontinue services for non-payment of services charged by former occupant of rental unit prohibit unpaid services charged of former occupant not to be basis for the lien against rental properties exception. Any other provision of law to the contrary notwithstanding, Mr. Warren, you can understand this better than we can. No municipality may refuse services or discontinue utility water or sewage services to the owner of any rental unit or to a tenant or prospective tenant of such rental unit for non-payment of service charges incurred by a former occupant of that rental unit. Any such unpaid services charge incurred by a former occupant would not be the basis for any lien against the rental property or legal action against the present tenant or owner to recover such charges except to the extent that the present tenant or owner has benefited directly from the services provided to the former occupant.
Right, that's what I was going to say earlier. The other thing I'd say about that is the owner, like for rentals, the owner has 15 days to return any deposits, and the owner should check with the local municipality to see if there is any past due utility bills, etc., before they issue any refund of any security deposit.
Well, then, correct me if I'm wrong. The only recourse we have here, and that what the actress just brought forth, is to increase our deposits accordingly for a however many 30-day, 60-day average bill would be.
Mm-hmm.
So, if our average bill for the general public here is $20 a month for water, then we're looking at, and you want how many days? You got 60 days?
Whatever you guys decide.
What is it currently? Before you shut it off?
30.
Shut it off?
Mm-hmm.
We shut it off when it's late.
Yeah.
So immediately?
Yeah. On the 21st.
So you have 30 days to pay your bill. That 31st,
okay.
next day is.
So then it would just be 1 month?
See, that's where most places deal. If you don't pay your bill about the due date, then they cut you off.
Well, ours keeps accruing because we continue to charge you regardless if there's usage or not.
Oh, see that?
And that's why those bills are becoming so high. Is that we can cut your water off, but let's say the minimum is $60 with water and sewer. Each month you're going to get $60. You're going to get a 3%. How much is it like? 10%. 10%, and then we do a disconnect fee too. Again,
I wonder if somebody took you to court if you would be able to keep all that though.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. Oh no.
I mean, I think what we should, like Council Everson was saying, if we make the deposit, $150 deposit or $200 deposit, once they don't pay after those 60 days, then in order for them to get water turned back on, they have to pay that deposit over.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, so we set it at $150 or $200 deposit for water. In 60 days, if they get cut off, then they have 30 more days to bring their account current.
Right.
Once they don't bring it current, then we take the deposit.
Right.
And then at that point, then there's no more current. And I think also we need to look into renters. You know, do we make the landlord the property owners, or will it just be for the renters? Because once they're renting, they're not going to care. But if we use the deposit, then we can, you know, make money to get money back that way. So you can't extend it past 60
Well, the
days.
actress just said we have no recourse against the
But if you-
owner.
But if you make the owner responsible when they come in to rent, make the owner put it in the owner's
If it's
name.
in the owner's name and not the tenant's. There's one other thing, let me just mention. There's another statute that says that if your system has issued bonds, you can lien. And we're going to have to see if those things can be coordinated,
Well,
harmonized.
that's the reason for what she was just talking about. That's for we have it's not a bond, but it's a loan.
We did issue bonds.
Is that a bond?
Yeah.
We have a bond for something. I don't know what it is.
So, anyhow, well, irregardless, we need more info.
Certain things.
So what do you guys want us to research and come back with?
I understood what she read, but then the part I was looking for, it might have been that I might have just missed it. For us the charge for the, but they, like I said, you can raise, and $40 is really not enough money to start off with for a deposit. I mean, that's not a whole lot of money. That you said was $40, right? For a deposit, for residential,
For water, yes, sir.
See, that's not, if you, like, $150, $200 deposit. You see, I keep on saying this because it's all I know, y'all.
The electric company.
Thank you. The electric company, if you pay your bill real good for a certain amount, they give you your deposit back.
Right.
See, that's the thing. So the deposit, if you have a $200 deposit to get your water cut on, then if you pay your bill faithful like you're supposed to, then you put on your thing deposit refundable. If you and that way, but you got $200 to start off with. If you cut them off after how many days? If you cut them off
60.
then another thing could be done is, okay, if you get cut off, you don't pay your bill, then in order for you to get cut back on, you got to pay more deposit.
Double. Right.
Yeah, you pay more deposit. And that way, then you still you got money in the system in case they run out on you.
The only thing I know is collecting money, you gotta have something with some teeth in it before it'll bite.
Right.
And that means
I agree.
there's got to be, you've got to have recourse or to where people will say, hey, if I lose my deposit here, I've lost my money, and it's paid the bill, it has paid the water bill, I've lost my deposit, and now when I come back to do this again, my deposit, instead of being $100, it's going to be $200. Because I remember Joe, whenever he would go there, they would do it 2 and 3 times whatever the bill was.
Yeah.
So would you want to see, do you want to know what other municipalities do in terms of deposits or in terms of minimum
I
usage?
think that would be wise.
Okay, so deposits, minimum usage.
I think it should just be based on I don't know that you compare with another municipality. It's irrelevant.
I think, well,
You would be on our
What's happening
usage, what's happening here, because their rates are going to be different.
You're right, Mark, but it is still to gain some kind of history or information that some of these others are using to give us some kind of guidance on this situation. I mean, some of these other municipalities have had, especially the bigger ones, have had a lot more experience than what we have because of they have a lot more rental property, so to say.
Right, but they probably have a lot more reserve as well.
Well, true, but I mean, like you go to Williston, for instance, we've got some apartment complexes here that we have. We got what, 1, 2, 2, 3.
Yeah, well, we got the little duplexes.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's 3.
And they've got one over there in Williston, one that's way bigger than all 3 of them put together. Way bigger.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm basing it on.
The other 2 that you might want to look at is once the water is cut off, what do they do after that? If there's a continuing,
that's the thing.
because that is where
Yeah.
that large amount of money is coming from, is that continual charge regardless of the
And I don't think
salary.
you'll win that in a court of law. No judge is going to give you that money if it's been billed. I don't think. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but if it's been billed and they're not getting any services for it.
Well, if you've got a big enough deposit, there won't be no bill. You
Right.
stuck the deposit up and you pay the bill with that.
Well, no, it would still accrue. I mean,
It's still going to accrue. It's like Eggleston. Was that his
right,
name?
right.
Eggleston or Bliss. It's that person dies, that water gets cut off. They're still accruing a bill, even though that person is dead and nobody lives in that house.
And I don't think that that's.
And that is majority of ours. That big lien. Those are where those
Right.
liens are coming from. Is
Right.
because there's nobody.
In the
There's no
house.
relatives or anything like that.
I mean, I'd say every one of these, it's because there's no one in the house, right? They're
Harriet's
vehicles.
a perfect example. If she has nobody at that house and she's on water, we can't. We turn her water off. It's still going to accrue a bill regardless that somebody's there or not. That bill is still going to accrue with a minimum fee, a disconnect fee, and a late percent fee every single month until that property sells.
And that's what's
And that's what's causing
that's
our
what's going
things to hit
So
$4,000, $5,000, $6,000.
If we make the deposit enough, and then after 60 days, you know, you don't charge anymore, you know, for, you know, like you have a problem with, you know, charging people because water's there or the meter there, you know, we're gonna lose that revenue. But at the same time, before that place can get water again, they got to pay another deposit or either increase in deposit.
And I'm gonna use Miss Harriet here. Bless her heart, she would.
It's a perfect example because she just recently
prime
passed.
example here. Miss Harriet has passed away. She has no
Heirs.
that wants it, and that thing is just gonna sit there and keep clicking.
And accumulate.
And that doesn't make any sense.
And after the 30 days, and nobody pays the bill, we take her deposit. But I see in her case, her deposit's already, it would have probably been minuscule if anything.
Right, she probably established that account decades,
may not even
decades, and
help.
decades, right. Shorter than that one, right.
I know this just like what Aaron's talking about Central Florida. I've been here so long that we done got all of our deposits back.
I didn't have to pay no deposit because I worked for.
But, you know, I've already got all mine back.
Right.
So,
But the question is that because this is not a new discussion for us in the office.
It's
This is a
every
weekly
day.
topic. So for Miss Harriet, sorry, I know it's late. Harriet, perfect example. So after 60 days, okay, great. What do you then say if Mr. Aaron comes in and says, you know what, I'm not paying this water bill anymore. I don't use that water, cut it off. Are we going to still accumulate his because he's alive? Or are we going to take in, do what we just did for Miss Harriet?
well, I know this.
Those are the questions that keep coming up.
Not for the others.
So what did you do for Miss Harriet?
She has a water bill.
She
got a water bill, yep.
She has somebody who's living in her property, though.
Oh, somebody.
In her particular
Yeah,
case,
she
somebody's-
does have somebody that's paying the bill.
But if nobody was living there, then what you gonna do? You can't collect money from a dead person.
Well, no, but then it goes to
Can't compare
probate.
estate.
Right, and then that's where those
I think-
liens
I
are.
think-
So my question is then, not to keep the conversation going, but, so it goes to probate, the
Whoever
judge
buys the
says,
property.
okay, we're gonna, give you your amount, and then, let's say they tear the house down, you still gonna bill? Who are you gonna bill?
Yes, we still bill.
See, I
We-
think,
That is,
And
that's,
I think
there are
one
other
thing
places that
is
don't.
One crucial thing. It's individual name that these utilities go in. You know, electric companies, everybody can attest at some point in their life, they probably bought a place that had no power, but the electric was ran there. Electric company ain't charging you because the hookup's there.
That's right.
They're charging you once you pay your deposit and according. But I think the one thing that got missed, like the other municipalities, that's why they use the collection agency. Because they're going after that individual. They're putting collections and stuff on the credit and everything in that individual's name who's pulled the service. So you guys are just looking at it as because it passes the thing. If nobody lives there and it's shut off, it shouldn't accrue the bill just because it's there.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. Now, I'm gonna say one more thing, and I'm not gonna call no names. And this pertains electric. A guy about 3 or 4 weeks ago, he came up, he was talking to me, and his lights got cut off right here in Bronson. And the lights that got cut off was in his mama name. Okay? So he wanted to try to get them cut back on. The power wouldn't cut them. They wouldn't cut the power back on
House was affected.
because the power was in his mama name. Said, well, I'm gonna cut it on my name. They looked it up. He had a power bill somewhere else.
Yeah.
So until he paid that bill, paid the deposit for his mama house, he couldn't get no electricity.
Well, we looked at collections the other day,
So
and
But see, the problem with that is that that's all based on like a social security number. It's a national. I mean, we can't do that because when you start an electric account, that's all tied to a social security number. We don't even collect social security numbers here
I
in
don't
Bronson.
know. I don't know if they got my social security over there. They probably is.
oh, they got it.
Oh, they definitely do. Yeah, that's how they do it.
I
Yeah,
work for them.
but we don't do that. We can't. We don't know if this guy ran out in Chiefland or ran out in Williston. We have no idea.
But they use the name.
I mean, if we did a situation, you could do credit checks City of Chiefland does credit checks, if I'm not mistaken. I bet you Williston does credit checks, and they will run your credit and see if you have any outstanding bills.
And they'll make you have a co-signer
Uh-huh.
in order to get the utility, make somebody that's going to be responsible.
It all goes into
for it.
someone's name. It's the name that you're.
It's the name.
So, when I talked to Williston, they explicitly mentioned, when they mentioned the collections agency, that part of why they use it is because they have so many renters. And that it's more effective at getting a renter who runs out on the bill.
Well, one thing I have learned over the years, my 70 years on this, to be on this earth, that collection agencies collect a very, very small amount of actual funds.
Right. And then
That's
they
what
take
they
a
charge
huge,
so much.
And they charge you,
like 80%. They
Yeah,
take
it's
like
not worth
80%.
it's not worth it.
And that's why I said, for me, I
And especially when if you call one of them up and you say the type of bills that we're going to be collecting is water bills is $30 or $40 a month.
It's not worth it.
They want to go after that man driving that Lexus or something.
Yeah.
Not paying his bill. That's who they want. They want to go after a light.
That's right.
Okay, well, how about if we come back with information on deposits, minimum usage, and how they handle tenants?
Very good.
Let's
Let
see
me
if we can get-
volunteer something. Let me volunteer to assimilate all the legal aspects of this.
Please.
And come back with a report. Because
Yeah, we
a
don't.
lot of things rotating in my head right now.
Yeah, we don't want to get off.
Death
I'm not
too.
sure we've got a real handle on it.
Location.
Death.
Actually, the best person is Miss B. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lee, for that. What you brought up. How the word did you do that?
It was
Tech
here.
savvy.
Just told myself, wait,
I'm used to that.
All right, moving right on along.
Okay, next I just wanted to give you guys a copy of the most recent newsletter. It is 10 pages. It's in your packet. We still don't have an intern, so it's still being done right now by the print shop. It was finalized last week, and it should be going out to residents this week. So,
it was mighty good newsletter.
It was really
thank
good.
you.
But one thing I was going to ask you about.
Yes, ma'am.
On there.
Yes.
Let's see.
Please tell me there's no typos. I read it 1,000
No,
times.
there was no typo. It's concerning the election.
It's on the first page.
Where is it?
You run?
Very first page. Municipal election of 2023. Vote by mail request card.
Yeah, that. Well, it's not in the card here. Oh, there it is. The one to vote by mail.
Yep.
Now these are only for the county.
Yeah, let's
They
talk.
aren't for the city.
Right.
But the way it reads,
Yeah. So
when they're
Tam,
coming for the city election, they're going to be confused.
I'm glad you brought that up because actually people do need to know this. So if anybody was signed up to do vote by mail, your vote by mail expired December 31st of 2022.
Yes.
Everybody's, the entire kit and caboodle, the entire state, right?
You have to do it every year every election year from now on. Don't just keep rolling over.
Right. So Tammy and I, because we went back and forth about, okay, do they come to Bronson and they get on the vote by mail list and then I have to give it to Tammy, or do they give it to Tammy and then she has to give it to me? So the reason I decided to put Levy counties on here is because I figured that was more encompassing. So if she gets these, she's going to send them to Bronson, and other way around. If we get some here, we're going to send them to her. We're going to work back and forth so that people don't have to go to both places because it is confusing. They think they signed up for one, they thought they signed up for everything. But yes, that's a good point because technically this is Levy counties. Yeah, we went back and forth about, do I put Bronson or do I put Levy counties? So
Well, question, when
Yes.
will I get a copy of the newsletter?
when they send it out.
Well, it's in here stuff on the now. I don't have one. Mom got one. B got one. And
Oh, it's just in the packet.
It's just in the
It's in the
packet.
packet. But you can have mine.
You want mine?
You can have this one. We can get through.
We also have some out at Town Hall. We have some at the library, so we put some out. But yes, you'll be getting it in the mail shortly. So, all right. Next up, Benton Farms renewal contract. This is continuation from last week. So, based on, I can't remember who brought this up. Maybe Councilor Hunt or maybe it was Mayor Parton about the fact that you wanted to have this more of a being able to get out of it. So, if you look at this, about a third of the way down the page. Attorney Warren came up with this verbiage that says, this lease shall renew automatically from year to year unless either party shall, not more than 90 days from the end of a term, that is a calendar year, elect by written notice not to renew. Notwithstanding the foregoing, either party may cancel and terminate this lease with or without cause, upon 90 days' notice to the other at any time. Any notice shall be by certified mail, return receipt requested. So now it's a 1 year, and either one of us can get out of it with 90 days' notice.
Sounds good.
Is that
Have you
better?
communicated with him on this?
I am communicating with his
CPA.
attorney, or his CPA,
CPA.
is who I got this
Yeah.
from. I don't remember her name, but
They wrote it.
she wrote it. Yeah,
There's a mistake in there, and I made a mistake. It should be not, and I'm sure everybody understands it, it should be not less than 90 days. Not more than 90 days.
Oh,
Doesn't make
right.
sense in that.
got it. Okay.
But I'm sure they know that.
Make a motion to accept the contract with Bedford Farms.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those same, motion carried.
All right, last up for me. Again, I've put a employee performance review for myself in your packet. I would like you to complete them if you would like to complete them. And again, this is Councillor Hunt made this recommendation to my contract last week. If you look at page 2 of 7 under section 5, vacation and sick leave, section C, accrual limits. I modified this based on what you guys talked about at the last council meeting. So it says the employee may accrue no more than 960 hours of sick leave. That's in our current manual. In event the employee's employment is terminated either voluntarily or involuntarily, the employee shall be compensated for all personal and vacation leave. Sick leave shall be compensated at 25% of the employee's final rate of pay upon termination of employment. So I can't cash the entire 960 hours, only 25%. And that's the only thing I changed. And I put in, again, I would like a 2-year term with the 5% increase like we talked about last week.
You want 5% for each year, or just 5 still in general,
5% for this year.
for 2 years?
Oh,
If we get a 2-year contract, I mean, that 5% will take care of all that.
I guess 5% per year, I guess. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I guess that would be lovely. Sure, let's go with that. I appreciate that.
All right, I need the pleasure of the council on that.
Make a motion to accept the town manager renewal contract.
For how many years?
As on the 2-year term. Okay. 2-year renewal term.
I second.
Probably moved in second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right.
That's it for me.
All right. Sirs, come here and talk to us.
Yeah, that's hard to follow.
Now, there's
Hard to follow that.
a lot of ifs, ands, and buts went on there.
I think the first thing that's on my list was the quote for Brian Myers, because we have been dealing with Councilman Schuler in reference to the school coming to repair the deck. I don't know if she was able to get with them.
He never came. He was supposed to come and meet with you, but he never did.
No.
Okay, so we're still waiting on
I
it.
think he's in the mountains skiing right now.
Everybody is skiing.
I guess that's why he's not coming.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just table
I
that.
just seen it on Facebook earlier.
Got it.
Okay. All right. I got a request while let me be quiet. It's on my mind. I'd like to give Dennis a $100 gift certificate to a restaurant. Reason being, the last 4 times that we've had to put up flags, take down flags, do Christmas lights and stuff, he come 5 o'clock in the morning and run his lights was to do it. He hadn't talked to me, but I think it's worth something when someone's working outside of their scope, especially 5 o'clock in the morning, to come and do that. Saying thank you, yeah, that's good, but
Right.
showing something,
I agree.
give
First, I appreciate that, but I don't need that.
Okay.
The gratitude I get from you and the help I get from you is enough for me.
Kid, gotta go with you.
That's what you like.
Get him something anyway. Do something. Give something anyway.
It's
What do you want? How much you want? 100? Make a motion. We give Russell a $100 gift card for helping out.
Second.
Wait, did you say $20?
$100.
Oh,
I did that.
yours asked for 100.
Take what you like.
Make the check out to the wife. Yeah.
Get to the wife.
Probably moving second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Yes.
Because if he hadn't showed up, trying to get the sheriff's office to it, he wouldn't have been.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the second thing is the sub pump. The sub pump is a pump. I think Councilman Gordon probably know what it is. It's on the trailer, and say for example, like the lift stations that we have that don't have a generator, we'll be able to hook the sub pump up and move the waste from that particular wet well to where it needs to go to the next wet well without paying for a generator. And also it can be used to pump sewer, and then you can get hoses for to pump water when we have major water leaks. So you get two uses out of it.
We talked about that a little bit,
I think at the last meeting I wasn't here.
My question is, how are you going to pump sewer?
Okay, you have the wet well, and then you have a discharge tank. It will hook up to that wet well.
So you're talking about purchasing a tank also on wheels?
No. It'll hook up to the line. So you have your wet well, and then you have another lift where the rocker arms, and that it has an attachment that you hook the pump up to there, and it will pump out of the wet well through that line and send it on down the line to where it needs to go.
Okay.
So actually, it's two lines, where it come out of the wet, it goes down in the wet well, and then the hose that attaches to the lift station, to the auxiliary tank that will push it right down.
So basically, you're just creating a portable lift station.
Right, instead of a generator.
Yeah. Okay.
Instead of power the lift stations, you're having them one that you can move around, but also use for water leaks.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I got some prices for generators. The bypass pump, this is, I don't know if it's in your packet.
The one from Hydra?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the one. The 49.
Yeah, 49.
Yeah, he's got that one. That's
We don't have to get this, I can look around, but this is basically to give you an idea of what we're looking at for that.
And how much was the generator again?
Okay. The generator, you're talking probably over $200,000. This is for the quote I got for the panel, to change the panel out at the lift station on Stevens Street. We have a problem with it, to go from a single phase to a three phase. Because most everything we do is three phase. And that's to change out the panel. So a bypass pump will probably be, and you can use it for more than one thing, and you can use it at any of the other lift stations that don't have generators.
We use ARPA money for it.
We can use our money. Again, we have to go to bid though. If we're doing
it's
this.
over, yeah.
It's over 25,000. We just need to know if you guys are even interested in doing this. I mean,
I put it out for bid.
Put it out for bid, see what we get. Make a motion, we go to bid for a sump pump.
Properly moved and seconded, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carried.
The last thing, for those who all, the traffic light, I think you sit there too long. It has 8 loops, there's 2 on each, from each direction. On 27, there's one that's on the north end, one that's got 2 that's on the south end. For 24, east and west, it has 2 loops. 7 of the 8 loops are bad. Look, now, DOT, I was told, will replace the loops when they resurface. That's going to be in 2 years. Okay. We have a maintenance contract that's $4,000. Josh from DOT called me. He has a $20,000 camera that he's willing to give to the town that will work in place of the loops. We would have to pay for the installation of it and pay for the maintenance of it. which he couldn't, because it'll be contracted out, he couldn't give me a price, but he's willing to give the town the camera that we're working all 4 directions.
So what we got to
In
pay
place
for?
of the maintenance of the installation and the maintenance of it.
Yeah, we need to know what those numbers are before we can. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, and I agree with that, but I mean, we can't vote on something blindsided.
Okay. To replace the loops,
I know that's expensive.
it's on 50 grand, it's like 12,000 per loop. And then when they resurface it, they can tear it.
Tear it right back out. So the camera is definitely the common sense way to go. I still would like to see what those figures are.
But when I
May I
talked
ask a
with him, he
question?
couldn't because he didn't.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I can wait.
No, go ahead, man.
So with the camera though, when they resurface it, is the camera going to be taken down at the same time?
No, the camera won't interfere with the road surface.
Ah, okay.
The camera is actually kind of like a game camera, a motion detector camera
Oh, okay.
that we're working all 4 directions.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know the maintenance stuff.
Josh told me, I mean, he was, again, I mean, he can't 100% say because what's the name of the company that you deal with? Out of Palatka? I can't remember either.
I can't.
Just remember they're in Palatka. He said he was thinking probably like $1,500 or something. I mean, minuscule.
Yeah,
A year?
It's not,
Yeah, minuscule. But again, the question is, or would we rather just wait the 2 years and have them replace the loops anyway? It just depends on how much you guys are bothered by what's happening out there.
Just like you say, I don't mind spending a little bit of money to improve a situation. The 2-year factor comes into play here,
Right.
of course. Or we can, alternative to that is sit here and just let it run like it is. You know,
Right.
I mean, do I hear complaints? Yes. I've had them to go down there and to try to adjust it? Yes. And they did adjust it. I don't know how they did it because they said the loops are not working.
they didn't.
But the county boys are always complaining they'll get stuck there on 27 at the red light
Right.
when it's lunchtime, and they spend half of their lunchtime sitting at the red light trying to come back and forth.
You can't do much with them.
You know, coming from Chieftain at the red light, and you know, when I pulled up, you know, they're saying that a lot of times that the arrow that people, you know, as soon as I pulled up, it changed.
It's not that bad.
It's not really. I mean,
And I concur. Yes, it is an issue at times, but
Just go through the Ace parking lot.
yeah.
Go down 32.
I mean, it's.
Like you're so
But do it happen at a certain time?
Let's go ahead and let's get our numbers, you know, just see the accuracy and bring it back to the next meeting. So that way we'll
It's
have
always
it.
working. I don't know where this comes from. It's
But
always-
right now, we can't talk about it.
Oh,
Okay.
All right?
How much you willing to pay? How much? What we don't.
It's not that.
No, I'm saying so that you know when I'm talking with him, yeah, I got some kind of idea.
It's still not, I mean, just like Sue said, you know, $1,500 or something like that, that's not an issue. It is to fix a problem that is minuscule in my eyes, you know what I'm saying? I definitely don't want to go down there and spend a bunch of money and then 2 years they're gonna come here and tear it right
Right.
back
We
out.
don't basically we don't want to do anything
That's not a way of
with the
life.
loops, but
Right.
My whole deal
Camera.
is I just want to make wise decisions. If they do that, you need to have the information. So. All right. Dennis.
Money man. What up?
Gail.
this ain't old enough. Change the phone.
No, I don't mind any you do yours.
Okay.
I'll stop it.
Okay.
We received our ISO letter. We are a 6.6X, which is what we've been for the last 10 years. So even with the water issues that we've had, we didn't get knocked down, which we thought we would wind up going up to an 8 or better, but they didn't hit us on it. When we get everything done and the wells and all that fixed and we're in down here about a year, they're going to come back down, they're going to look at everything again, and then we'll get reevaluated in a year or two to get a better rating hopefully. So
Dennis, what's the 66X? What does that mean?
6X is, back years ago, they used to do a 9, which is a fire department, they can barely provide service. So the lower the number, the better your insurance rate is. The higher the number, the more you're going to pay for insurance.
Got it.
So the 6X is anybody within 5 miles of the city will get that same rating as the city does, which will reduce their insurance just like if they were living in the city limits.
Oh, I got it.
What's the lowest we have been? I thought we was a 2 one time. Remember?
We've never been 2. We've been close to a 5, but we've never been below a 6. So.
And with the new fire
Well,
station,
maybe not.
we get below a 6 once all the wells and everything are.
Well, once we get all the training stuff and we get everything in down there, that's why when we started working on this building, we put a lot of this in. We'll get credit for a lot of stuff that we don't have now.
Oh, okay.
So we should get lower, but there's no guarantee until they could change it in 2 years of what they're going to grade it off of.
Right.
Just like they did this year.
And I hate to go back to this same mentality speech here and everything, but just like Williston is, theirs is a 4, I think. I think it's a 4.
Yeah, Chiefland just went to a 3. I think they're a 4.
Chiefland went to a 3, Williston's a 4. Gainesville, 2.
But
It takes a lot
as much
of
property
money.
taxes I pay in Gainesville,
Yes.
they should be a 1.
It should be a
The only
It should be a
place,
0, exactly.
the only places that get to a 1 are like Miami-Dade,
Yeah.
very,
Yeah,
very
you
large
got-
They got
municipalities.
millions
They
and
have,
millions of dollars to buy everything.
and they have a fire
Exactly.
station every
Everybody is
block.
on full staff.
Right,
Full
yeah.
staff. I mean, you know, we got people coming down the top.
Between property
Yeah.
taxes
And that's what hurts us. We just there's no way we can afford to pay to provide that manpower
So,
that they want.
Get Elijah out there.
So the only other thing I have on the agenda is a resolution which I'm going to let Gail present for our USDA grant.
Question, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
When are we gonna open the fire station?
You'll be the first to know when I know.
Is it gonna be this year or
yes,
next year?
sir.
Well, good Lord willing, it's going to be this year. Let me
And I'll address that here in just a second on what's going on. I've been out there all weekend long, so, and I'm sure Dennis has too.
No, I actually was in Funeral, Pensacola.
Oh, I'm
We were out and talked to him yesterday.
sorry. Okay.
We'd applied for 2 USDA grants for the trucks we're getting. One is already under production, one truck is. Unfortunately, that truck, well, I'll get into that in just a second. USDA says they'll fund 65% or 35% of our request. They're unable to fund projects over $50,000 right now. So the truck, they're hoping that eventually the funding will come in, the approval will come in. So the truck we have under production now doesn't have a USDA grant for it yet. The other truck, the 35% comes out to $49,000. So that's under the $50,000 range. They required titles clear of any liens, and we're looking to finance both trucks through a lease company. Talk to the lease company, and they say there are ways to get around them having the lien. So that shouldn't be an issue. They advise some other options on that. The USDA is requesting a loan resolution, a applicant's feasibility report, and a letter from the city giving evidence of the $91,000 contribution, which is the other truck we're looking for is a smaller truck replacing our quick response squad. It's $140,000. 65% is 91. So they want a letter saying we'll be able to come up with a 91,000. The loan resolution is. Did you get any form of this?
It's in the bucket.
It's just something. It's just basically a form letter for the USDA signed by the mayor saying that. I don't know exactly what it all says, but it just says that we'll accept a grant in the amount not to exceed $49,000 from the USDA. And then the letter, separate letter, saying that we'll be able to come up with the $91,000. The feasibility report is something that I believe had to be signed as well. Yep. They're just requesting that says what the existing equipment is, which is our aging truck that needs repairs at times. What's the proposed equipment we're going to get? And we went through the new truck we're going to get. What's the need for it to replace the current older vehicle and respond to first aid calls, accidents, fires, and whatnot? Then what is the service area? The main thing they wanted was the need for the vehicle. So we filled that out for them. And I did notice on this they need a formal application by February 9th. And I don't know if, once we get this back, if this is the formal application or if they're going to send more paperwork. So we won't know. We seem to be getting different things from USDA every now and then. So.
They move the goalpost. That's what I call it.
So the 91,000, that's gonna come out of your budget?
That'll be from the lease company.
Okay.
Well, we're getting everything from the lease company, but yeah, the 91,000 from the lease company. I'm sorry.
41,000 is
49 is from the USDA
USDA.
grant.
You got to have another 91,000.
91,000, yes. For the remainder of that will come budget, but we're going to get at least.
Okay.
Aaron, this is all part of that the 500,000 we originally were going after. The truck was 330 and this one's 140.
Okay.
All right. So
But
we
they just-
need to vote on
The resolution.
Resolution. Okay. And that is
23-1.
I make a motion to accept resolution 23-1.
all right. Been properly moved and second on the resolution 23-1 for the USDA grant quick response truck. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right, Elijah, this is an update.
Okay.
Our well, we were, what's the gentleman's name again?
Mark Williams.
Mark. Had the well casing set. They were pumping water out. They kept drilling down. It passed through a water stream somehow or another, and they had a cave in. And the back end of that truck, that big monster truck you seen out there was quickly going south or somewhere. I don't know where it was going, but it was going down. I know that.
I saw it, yeah.
I called him up on the phone and I told him, I said, Mark, we don't normally have sinkholes in Bronson. I said, now you get in Chiefland, they have sinkholes, but we don't normally have. He said, I created one. And how I did that is because I drilled through a water cavity. And when I did that, he said, I upset something down there. He said, we can't stay here. We got to move. So what he has done, he has pulled this casing out. I pulled all of his stuff out. He's left that casing in the ground. They're just going to cap it off. And it's a loss. He has moved approximately 50 yards, maybe, I reckon, out to the west. This time, instead of boring the well, he is driving the casing in the ground. That will solve that issue. And then it out. And he said he's going to go to, the other day, when I was out there Sunday, he was at 60 feet. And they worked Monday. He said he probably would have the casing set. I don't, Dennis, have you been out there today? I had to go.
I went out there last night when I got back from Pensacola, and he only had 3 pieces still laying on the ground, so.
Well, he had a pile of it out there, I know
Yeah.
that. So he drove it on down pretty far. As soon as we get water there, he said there's a good possibility that this well we will be able to use for other things, possibly, because of the way it's done. Yes, sir.
So the sinkhole that he created, is there any potential issues from that area moving forward?
He said if he kept in, Gail, you may have some more.
We saw him yesterday. He indicated that he may pop in the future. We may be able to drill a smaller well into that. He said 8 inch, but
yeah,
I would think 6 inch.
This well casing out there right now is this big.
Yeah.
Okay. It's 12?
Yeah.
12-inch well casing. And what he done is they drove it in the ground. And then after so many feet of that, like 80 feet, I think, then he drilled through that casing on past it down another 60 feet down or something.
Okay.
And when that auger was in the ground, They pulled it back out, and then they put their pumps in there and started pumping, and when it did, all hell broke loose. Is what I've been
Yeah, and he also indicated that he thinks he might have gone through sand, and then lime rock, and then sand again.
Exactly. And what he's doing now is he's trying to drive through that further down to hit that next level of rock, and he said there is a good possibility, not that it's going to happen, that we'll get a better quality because it was full of iron. Just like we've all said, it was all iron, water, and everything else. And if he drives past that and gets in, possibly, could get into a good quality. If it is, and if we can get it tested and it meets specification, we can use it to hook into our water system. It is a possibility. The alternative, now he can use that other well, just like Neil just said. We can put a pipe down in there,
Smoke it.
and pull it out, and possibly use that water for.
We could use that for the station and get off the municipal.
Well, you could. I would hate to use that, pump all that iron water into that
You still gonna pay the minimum though.
system. So, with that being said, that's the update, Elijah. That's the best I can do, buddy, because like I say, I talked to him, I was out there 2 times over the weekend, and he was working his butt off out there trying to.
How long you been doing that? In
I
that
don't-
business?
I don't know, pretty good little while, because that's nothing
Well, that's
it takes experience to do stuff like this, just like Mr. Steve Glover did.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, we should have used Barry. Barry couldn't do it.
Barry don't have anything quality.
He couldn't do it.
He don't have anything even close to that.
Barry can only go up to like a 6-inch casing.
You need to go down, you can look down in that hole, like I say, it's that big around.
You don't need to be falling into it.
All right. All right, we through with that? Dennis, you got everything?
No, sir, I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Warren?
It says report on the charter situation. We did have the meeting this afternoon, but for anybody who's here, there are a couple of things we're working on to refine the changes, and we're going to have another meeting scheduled, at which point we should have what amounts to what at least Sue and I will be recommending as the final version of the proposed charter revision for the council's approval.
All right. And that will be forthcoming. We have not set a date yet on that.
No, sir.
So, all right, council committee reports. I've said enough. If Jason is not here, Mr. Eric.
I said more than enough.
Tyler.
I'm still doing some research on mine. I'm good for now.
All right. Any other public participation? We good? Y'all have a chance?
We pay the bills.
Got a motion to pay the bills?
Second.
The properly moved to second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.